guys, welcome back. It's Missy. Hope you guys are surviving allergy season. I have really bad allergies. I have the weirdest allergy symptoms. Like, one of my symptoms is that my eye will cry. I've actually had nightmares that I was getting ready for a date and like I kept crying all my makeup off. Dream interpreters, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm just shallow? Also, my eye like sometimes will swell up because I'm itching it. I know it's really bad, but I'll like itch it. Hello, wrinkles. So if I'm looking rough from allergies with a capital oof, blame it on genetics. So if you are an allergy sufferer, leave it in the comments below. Let me know how you're doing. Anyway, so today's topic is on the signs you were raised by a narcissistic parent. Being raised by a narcissist is one of the most heartbreaking, hardest, painful, confusing upbringings because you are dealing with a very unhealthy parent. As a kid, you don't understand that. You think it's normal the way they're behaving until you go in the outside world and you realize it's not normal. Or you hear other kids talking about their parents and you realize it's not normal. It's so tricky because with narcissistic parents, they make everything look good on the outside, so they can look really normally on the outside, but behind closed doors it's much different, and you deal with a much different parent behind closed doors. Your narcissistic parent may have done things or made things look a certain way to keep up with that healthy parent image, but in reality they have a hidden agenda, or there's secret selfishness behind what they're doing. So on the outside, you may have your lunch packed, you may have nice outfits, but emotionally you feel tormented and wrecked. It could also be that some of your siblings have nice things and you have less nice things. In each home, it's very different. So here are 20 signs that you were raised by a narcissistic parent. One of the major ones is that you felt like you couldn't show your genuine emotions. It may have been obvious that you couldn't show your emotions to your parent, or you just always had this feeling that you didn't feel comfortable sharing things with your parent, but maybe you couldn't quite put your finger on it. They may have made you feel worse when you told them things, or they made you feel guilty, or they may have made fun of you or even made it about themselves. They may have brought your emotions up as a weapon or used your insecurities against you. You most likely felt way worse talking to them than keeping it to yourself. You just knew it was much safer to keep it to yourself than feel punished for feeling how you genuinely felt. Because you felt like you couldn't show your genuine emotions, you may have felt like you need to be a brick wall or always have a poker face on to protect yourself from dealing with any type of punishment from them. You may have felt like you couldn't have emotions that they didn't approve of. You may have noticed that you felt guilty a lot. So with narcissistic parents, is they will put fake guilt on you and they will make you feel like you're doing something wrong when it's not wrong at all. They may tell you you're disrespecting them when they're not. They may make you feel bad for doing normal things like taking care of yourself or having wants and needs. No matter what you're doing, they will try to instill guilt on you so you feel like you're doing something wrong, and they can manipulate and control you a lot easier. You may have felt like you needed to be who they wanted you to be. So if you weren't who they wanted to be, you'd get criticized, you would get put down, you would get random digs thrown at you when you're not even doing anything. And you just all around are more likely to be punished when you're not who they want you to be versus when you are the way they want you to be, you will be more likely to get praised or even just left alone, and you don't have to deal with that torment. You may have noticed they project onto you. So they may be doing something and they'll turn around and make it seem like you're the one who's doing it. So if they're yelling and you're just talking back, they'll say, "Stop yelling at me, go to your room." Or maybe like they'll be calling you names and emotionally abusing you, and they'll say, "I'm sick and tired of you always abusing me." They just always are projecting what they're doing onto you. You feel bad or confused after being around them. And what this is it's usually manipulation. with manipulation, like things will look nice on the outside, but underneath it, there's hidden things going on. And that's what you're feeling. Like, so they may say things in a nice way, but they have hidden meaning, and it makes you feel bad because subconsciously you recognize that. But since it looks so good on the outside, you leave kind of confused and you're like, well, did they really say anything wrong? I just know I don't feel good after that conversation. I don't feel good after being around them. You may notice you have a low sense of self or self-worth. Narcissists feel their children are an extension of themselves, and they don't want you to have individuality. So what they'll do is they'll take away who you are and confuse you and tell you who you are. So they may tell you that you're bad, or they may tell you that you're this certain way. And when you're told that enough, you believe it. So you are not entirely sure who you are because you were always told who you were. You may have felt like you were their parent or their partner or even their therapist. So they may have made you feel responsible for things, or they may have always come to you for their problems and talked about a lot of things that you wouldn't normally talk to your child about. You may have felt like you were the parent where you had to tell them what to do or take care of them in ways that wasn't appropriate as a child. Your achievements are because of them. So anytime you achieve something or anytime there's anything good about you, they'll say like, oh yeah, that's because of me. Oh yeah, you're that way because I enforced it in you. It's never like, good job, you did that thing. It's because of me that happened. They do this because they have a grandiose sense of self, and they always need to be praised, and it needs to be that it's because of them. They need to fill that ego. They do things for you, but with a catch. So you may notice that they may do nice things for you, like buy the food that you enjoy, or they may take you somewhere that you like, but it always comes with a price. So they may throw it in your face. They may expect something in return. They may expect you to act a certain way. It's never just giving because they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They're expecting something in return. Conditional love. So something narcissistic parents a lot, they'll do is they'll say like, I love you unconditionally, or they will say things to make it seem like they love and care about you so much, when in reality, if you're not doing what they want, they will take that away. They will make you feel terrible. They try to convince you that they're so loving and caring, but in reality, it's just conditional love until you do something wrong. You may have felt little to no empathy. In my Understanding the Mind of a Narcissist video, I talk about how narcissism is on a scale. You may notice some narcissists, they'll show some empathy, so you may get confused, but it's on a scale. There's certain aspects narcissists have a hard time showing empathy, and it has to do when it affects them. So they can't empathize with someone when it affects them. So if you're in a situation where there's a fight, they won't self-reflect and look at them and empathize with your side. They're only looking at them. Or if something's going on with you and it affects them, they won't empathize with you. They're only thinking about themselves. Nothing you did was good enough. So you may have tried to do everything they ever told you to do, or they may have set expectations for you and you try to live to them, but it never felt good enough. You never really felt praised, or you never really felt like they were proud of you or happy for you. You were blamed a lot. So when things go wrong, you were the one to blame. You were at fault for things. Even if it had nothing to do with you, you always felt like you were somehow blamed and you were in trouble. They crossed your boundaries. So maybe they didn't knock before coming in. Maybe they didn't respect your privacy. Maybe they didn't respect when you didn't want to do certain things, or you didn't want to talk about certain things. They do not like boundaries. They don't like to feel like you are cutting them out. They want full control over you. So anytime you try to set a boundary, they will try to cross it. You were not allowed to speak badly about them or speak badly about the family outside the house. You may have noticed that there was a rule where you're like, don't talk about these things outside the home. This stays in the home. This is a family thing. This is a family issue. That's to remain that control and that self-image. They don't want you to ever go outside the home and talk badly about them. They don't even want you to think badly about them. But it's normal to speak about your parents. They made you feel like it's not normal and you are a terrible person. You and your siblings were treated differently. I talk more about that in my Scapegoat, Golden Child, and Lost Child video, which I'll also link below. You and your siblings all play different roles, and you may have even felt resentful towards your siblings or felt like you guys were being pinned up against each other, because narcissists don't want you guys to team up together and go against them. So they make sure that there's a dynamic where you guys are always on you're always on their side versus you guys are together and going against them. You felt controlled. They may have told you who to be, who to hang out with, what you could wear, what you could do. It may have been very controlled in the house where you had to ask for permission to eat or ask for permission to open the fridge, or you may have felt like you need to ask for permission for a lot of things and you just in general felt controlled. They are never wrong. So if you ever tried to bring up something that they did or tried to talk about something that goes against what they said, you're in trouble, because they can never be wrong. They're always right and you're always in the wrong. You felt crazy growing up. They would gaslight you a lot, which means they would manipulate you to the point where you're questioning your own sanity. So they would tell you things didn't happen, or they would tell you you remember things wrong, or they would even tell you you're crazy. They would tell you that you have some type of mental disorder. They would just always do or say things that made you second guess and question yourself. And you always just felt like you were crazy or you're doing something wrong, or you felt like you were a bad person, which you're not. They would just do that to control and manipulate you easier. They turned others against you. So with narcissists, they always feel like they need to have people backing them up. So you may have noticed if you had an enabler father, she would turn him against you. Or if you had a narcissistic dad, an enabler mom, same thing. They would try to turn people against you, your siblings, your family members, even your friends. They would smear your name. They just would do things to turn others against you. So it would always be like they had others to back them up, and it would make you feel worse about yourself and feel like you really didn't have anyone on your side and you couldn't go against them. They were too strong. They were too powerful. And it made them feel like they were way more right and you were wrong. You struggle with codependency. As a child, your narcissistic parent didn't make you feel heard, acknowledged, or validated, and made you feel unimportant and like you weren't enough. And so to compensate, you would start to take care of others or take care of your narcissistic parent to fill that hole of not feeling like you mattered. And the child is always looking for their narcissistic parents' praise and acknowledgement, and the child learns to put their narcissistic parents' needs first before their own. This causes you to not form a sense of self, to be unaware of your wants and needs, and cause you to have low self-esteem, as well as giving and caring for others to the point where you are mentally and physically exhausted, which then causes you to resent others for feeling like you're being taken advantage of and just giving too much, not having boundaries because you don't feel like you can say no. The pleaser/fixer, which is you, the codependent, and then the taker/controller is your narcissistic parent. So if you just recognized or you knew and this reaffirmed that you have a narcissistic parent, I just want to say I'm sorry that you've had to deal with so much. It's so hard dealing with the abuse and the torment, and just know that you're not alone and you can definitely heal and get past it. It's important to be aware and understand what happened in your childhood so you can heal. So there you have it. There are the 20 signs that you were raised by a narcissistic parent. What do you guys think? Could you relate to anything I said? Or is there anything you want to share? Leave it all in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone that you may need it. Share with someone that you may think needs it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye guys. It's never just giving because they want you to. I talk more about that in my raise. Your achievement